Share my screen. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Hold on. All right. So this afternoon we'll be talking about Git. What is Git? What is GitHub? What is Bitbucket? What is Stash? What is subversion control and all of those things? So I know we've been hearing about GitHub. GitHub is one of the most popular subversion control. So let me take it from the fundamentals. We earlier stated that MySQL is a database management system, right? And then we said Workbench can be used, MySQL Workbench can be used to connect to MySQL databases, either the one on your local or the one in the remote environment. So the same thing works for SQL Server Management Studio. It can be used to connect to SQL Server database that is running on your local or SQL Server database that is running on a remote server that is not currently sitting on your local. So there's something called subversion control. So let's start from document management first. Earlier in the days of Microsoft Word, if you and I need to collaborate on a single document, you are very far away from me. I will work on the document. I will send it to you via mail, or I will send it to you via maybe chat or something. You will download the document, you will update the document and send it back to me. If I see any correction in your document, I will call you. Hey, guy, there's a correction or there's something you omit. You fix it and send it back to me. It can be very tedious if multiple people need to collaborate on the same document. So here comes our rescue in that document management space, which is Google Doc or Microsoft SharePoint stuff. So let's take Google Doc, for example. I create a Google Doc document. I'll share the link of the Google Doc with you. Simultaneously, we'll be working on the same document. We'll be editing, we can add comments. I can ask you to change this to this via comments. And then at the end of the day, we are going to have a very simple we are going to have a single document which has been collaborated on by you and I or multiple people, as compared to sharing a single document every time we need to do an update. So imagine that document. Let's assume that document is our code. Hmm? Document is just a single file. Our code is multiple file with different resources, static resources, HTML, CSS, and all of those things. So imagine the document to be our code and Google Doc to be a subversion control. I don't want to use the word Git yet. Are you with me? Imagine the document to be our code and, and Google Doc to be a subversion control. So they call it subversion control or version control system, VCS. From the word version, we know in normal technology term that version just basically means the current iterative release of a particular product or a particular software or a particular document. So I can develop an agreement document between you and I will call it version 1. And then later, 2 years down the line, we realize that our partnership has gone to a good height. I can remove a few clauses that constrain you from doing one or two business with me, and I'll call that version 2, while we still have version 1. Now imagine that document will be modified by 100 people. How many versions do we want to have? So with Google Doc, there is something called, I think, history, version history, for you to see what the document looks like at different points in time. So the same thing works for VCS, that's version control system. Git is an example of VCS implementation. Okay, so hold on, please.
Come again, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, just
Yes,
want
we
to come
can.
over that again.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so GitHub or Git is a version control system. Git helps you to keep track of code changes. That is just the way Google Doc helps you to keep track of documents or text changes within your documents. Git is used to collaborate on code. That is, if multiple people need to collaborate on code, Git can be used for that. Mr. Abbas pushed a code 6 minutes ago. If you look at it here, it's telling me that this code was updated, it has changed to 7 minutes, 7 minutes ago. This is to tell other people that are collaborating on this repository here, is to tell other people collaborating on this repository that an update was done on this repository 7 minutes ago, and the visibility level of this repository is public. Okay, so, but don't let me go into GitHub yet. Let me just explain what a version control system is and then examples of version control system. So GitHub is an example of version control system, okay, that uses Git internally, okay. Bitbucket is an example of version control system. There's another one called Bitbucket. I think, which other one do I know? The most popular, Stash, is also a version control system. Stash is from Atlassian. They are the owner of Jira. You understand? It's also a version control system. So, first of all, we need to install Git on our system. Some system comes pre-installed with Git. Those are some Unix variant operating system. But Windows does not come by default. It doesn't, Git does not come by default for Windows. So first of all, for you to know if you have Git installed, first of all, for you to know if you have Git installed, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Can you see my command prompt, or you are still seeing GitHub?
No, no, no.
We're only
Only your
seeing the
screen.
GitHub.
Ah, okay. I think I only mistakenly shared. Let me share the entire screen. What about now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, we can see your command.
Okay. Okay. All right. So first of all, let's open our command prompts. I'm still sharing. Okay. For you to check if you have Git installed, you can
Should we
check.
follow you?
I'm just explaining.
Okay, sir.
For you to check if you have Git installed, you can type Git at your terminal and dash version. It's going to give you the version of Git you have. You can as well say Git, just one, and then V. It's going to give you the same result. The difference is that this option flag, I type it in full. So you have to use two dash or two hyphen. If you want to use the abbreviation of V, you have to you'll enter a single hyphen. So currently I have Git version 2.42.0, Windows 0.2. This on its own is a version. It means I'm running version 2. This is a minor release. No, this is a major release, and this is a minor release version. This is the operating system, and there's a name they call this, which I cannot remember. Okay, so this on its own is telling me this is the version of Git that I have. So let us get Git installed. Have we all installed the Git on our system?
No.
Not.
So which one are we to install?
You can install the 64-bit if your system architecture is 64-bit, but don't install the portable version. Don't install the portable version. Install, let me see, I think I have. Sorry, Git download. Let me show you.
Ah,
Sir? Okay, so install the standalone version. Look at it here. The portable version, it means you have to CD into the directory before you can use Git. So portable means it will not be installed on your laptop. You can, but the installation file will just be somewhere on the system. Then you CD into it, and then you'll be able to run Git. So download anyone that is compatible with your system between these two, I'm using 64-bit. I think most of us are running 64-bit operating system.
What about the one on top? Click here to download the first one, the latest 2.4 table.
Pardon? I didn't
The
hear what
first option that is given. That first option that is saying click yes.
Okay, for me, I just click the 64-bit version here and it will start downloading. Just click the 64-bit or 32-bit, it will just start downloading. So you can see that currently the latest version is 2.43.0.64, while I'm running 2.42. So you can see the version I'm running is not the latest version, you can see. So I'm downloading the latest version. You can follow suit for the installation. Please, I'm going to move a bit faster. You can pen down all your questions so that at the end of the class, we would have time to address them, except if you have issues installing or something, so that we can move a little bit faster. So I'm trying to install Git right now, not GitHub. So let me toggle to full screen mode, and then I'm going to switch here. So when you start installation of Git, you can see this is Git, not GitHub. This is Git. There's difference between Git and GitHub. So mostly in this tutorial, we are going to be using the both of them together, and then the words will be used interchangeably. So you need to understand the difference between Git and GitHub. So Git basically is the engine that the version control engine itself. That is Git. You get. Then GitHub is the what's it called, a SaaS product from, I think Microsoft has acquired it recently, but it's a SaaS product that has a GUI that allows you to use Git effectively. So let's get only show new option. Okay, so let me click on next. So in this class, you will basically understand what Git is and how to use it on remote repository platform like GitHub. You see, so GitHub is a remote repository platform that internally by itself is also running Git in the background. Let me give you a typical example. When Unix operating system was developed in the early, I think 90s or so, it's either 90s or 80s. It's just command line. You see, this thing I open here, this command prompt, this is what Windows used to look like. This is what Unix and all the variants of Linux used to look like. The GNU, or they call it GNU, the GNU wasn't there before. You understand? So the Git itself is just a shell script, you understand, that allow you to communicate with the Git underlying engine itself. So if you have Git installed, you can easily just do whatever you want to do with Git, and then everything will work fine if you understand the command. Just like the way Windows does disk operating system when it was released, it doesn't have any interface. It's just the command prompt that you have access to. So from there you can check directory, from there you can cd into any directory, you know, from there you can check directory of another directory, from there you can make directory, make dir the directory name, you know, things like that. So the Git version control system itself allow you to use the CLI. That's the command line interface. But GitHub is a remote repository system that actually uses Git internally. So you can choose and change which platform to focus on. You understand yourself. You can, if you want to learn the GUI part, there's a Git desktop, there is Fork. I think I have that here. This is a Git desktop application that allows you to manage Git for you that don't want to type code to do some things. But I'm a bit more comfortable with the code, with the CLI command, because it's faster and it allows me to do some things I can't ordinarily be able to do using the Git application management. So this is an example of Git application management. It allows you to manage Git repository from the GUI, and also there is also Git desktop. There is the Git. There is I think they have them like 20 like different type. They have the mobile versions too for all of those things. So that being said, let's check our installation, and it's telling me complete installing Git and then launch Git bash. You can launch the Git bash if you want to see the Git bash. Git bash is the Git CLI interface itself. So let me check the version of Git I currently have. So I can say Git V. It's telling me now that I have Git version 2.43.0.windows.1. So let me compare it with what I have. You see here was 42 and here is 43. So I have the latest Git. So let me clear my screen and then close this. Let me know if you have any challenge installing Git before we move on. So if you have, if there's no one here having issues installing Git, so you can open your command
I
prompt.
do.
Are you having issues?
Yes, please. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. I'm at this point where it's asking me what to use as my default editor. Should I see if I can share my screen?
Okay, let me stop sharing so you can share your screen.
Yes, I did say we should click on that Git bash. Can we mark it that Git bash? Hello, sir, Mr. Farouk, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Should I mark both Git bash and the other one?
Okay, so hold on. Just choose that notepad. Do you have Visual Studio Code?
Yes, I do.
So leave it as default. Don't worry, leave it as default. Oh yeah, click
Okay.
next.
All
Click
right.
next.
It was on a different thing entirely. All right.
Oh, okay.
Then
So let's get decide.
which one should it be?
Let's
It
get
should
decide.
decide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Continue.
How about here?
Recommended. Leave it like that. Leave it like that.
Okay.
Continue like that.
Then what should it be?
Click on next. Leave it as default.
Okay,
Click
how
on,
about this one?
yeah, you leave it like that and click on next. Oh yeah, continue like that. These are
And
styling.
this one.
How? Yeah. Click on next.
Okay.
Click on next. Wait. Select use Windows. No, go back. Use Windows default console window. Yeah.
We
All right.
have selected
Click on next.
use TTY.
Okay. So first,
Okay, how about this one?
so it's asking about the default merge, the default pull behavior. Fast forward merge is fine. Leave it. Continue.
Okay.
So continue. Enable fast system caching. Oh yeah, continue. Click on next. Don't check anything. Install.
Okay.
All right,
All
correct.
right.
Hold on.
Thank you.
Let me confirm. Let me confirm that everything goes well.
Okay, all right.
Leave your screen. Let's see. Who else is having issues, please? We are going to move very fast though. So I want all of us to have it installed so we can move on.
Okay, so I can launch Git bash, right?
Yeah, uncheck the second one, yeah, or click finish. Okay, open your command prompt.
Thank you.
No, yeah, open your
Okay.
open your command prompt. Share your screen.
All right, I'm sharing it back.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
all
this
right.
is it.
Don't worry about this. Open a new command prompt. Press the Windows logo and R to open the run. Okay, so that's good. So here, type git space -v. I can't see what you're typing. Okay.
Oh, on the PowerShell.
Yeah, just type it. I'm not sure it should go because
Sorry, window logo and what you say we should click on?
Windows
Windows
logo
R.
and R. Then you type
Okay.
CMD inside and press enter. Okay, so Mr. Dio, you have Git installed. Voila.
Okay.
So let's
Thank
move
you.
on to the next person. Can you still see my screen? I should reshare.
Please reshare.
It's
Okay.
coming.
Okay, it's coming up.
All right. So let me see. Git rev is going to give me the correct Git rev pass. That's what I want to say. Git rev pass. So let's continue. Now, can we all confirm that we have our Git installed and then everything is fine?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
All right.
But the window
still-
logo and the R.
Mm-hmm.
When I click it, it's giving me another thing, sir.
You are not clicking it, you are pressing it. Press Windows logo down and press R.
Yes.
It will show this. It will show this.
Mr. Farouk.
Yeah.
It's taking me to run.
Run, yes,
Yeah.
now it will open run.
Yeah, now.
So inside that run, just type CMD.
CMD.
If you can see my screen, just type CMD and then press enter. Your command prompt will open.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Farouk.
Yes, Mrs. Farouk.
Aba, I know be woman.
I know.
I beg, choosing ATBS transport backend. Should I use the OpenSSL or the native Windows Secure?
Use OpenSSL.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Check out Windows style.
I use native window.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Sir?
Okay.
See,
All right.
others installation, pick default.
Yes.
If you are worried about anything, just do default. Most time we don't
Okay.
change those installation.
Okay.
Just
okay.
use default throughout.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. I would like to continue. All right.
All right. Sir.
All right. So one thing I always have myself doing every time when I'm working on GitHub is I want to know if the current folder I currently am in is a Git repository. So I'm currently in a folder called Postman. So I will type git rev pass. It's going to tell me if this is a Git repository or not. It said not Git repository, you see. So let me find I think CD source. CD repo. So let me check. Let me just CD directory. CD so let me create this. Let me see, CD. So let me create this. So let me say dir. Okay, correct. So if I type git rev pass here, you can see I didn't get any error. That means this is a Git repository. You understand? Git rev pass. But if it is not a Git repository, if I come out one step and I put it here, okay. This let me come out. Let me come out again. Let me say git rev. So it's telling me that this is not a Git repository. All right, so let's move on. So the next thing in line here is we'll be looking at what Git is. Git is a popular version control system. It was created by Linus Torvald in 2005. Linus Torvald is the same guy that created Linux. You see, Linus Torvald is the same guy that created Linux and has since then been maintained, or the source code has been maintained by a guy called Hamano. So Git, basically, you use it to track code changes, track who made the changes, and code collaboration. So track changes in the code, track who made the change in the code, and then code collaboration, like merging, like merging, like creating a pull request, and all of those things. So those things are things we are going to look at one by one. So what Git can do and what Git cannot do. Git is not like a programming language of its own. No, it's just a program or a software engine that allows you to manage and collaborate on codes, or basically files, but code files generally. You can use it to manage projects with repository. You can clone a project to work on locally. You can control and track changes with staging and committing. You can as well do branching, merging, pulling, and pushing. So why do you have to have Git installed on your local machine? If you can just do what you have to do, push it to GitHub, and then you'll be sorting it out on GitHub end. So the thing is that when you install GitHub on your local system, your system is just like Git. When you install Git on your local system, your system is just like the GitHub itself, without the web interface. So when you're working, it's either you have a one-to-one cloning or a one-to-one copy of what is in the remote repository on your local system, or the remote repository will have more branches than your local system, because your local system, you only work on what concerns you. So when I'm saying remote, it means I'm talking about the likes of GitHub. I'm talking about the like of Bitbucket. You understand? I'm talking about the like of Stash. They are remote repository, because if the remote part is not there, you and I cannot collaborate. Just like Google Doc. If Google Doc is not there, we cannot collaborate on a single file together, except you want to share your screen via RDP or via things like AnyDesk. But how many people would have to have AnyDesk installed? What if I'm collaborating on my phone and you're on your laptop or you're on your TV? You connect a keyboard to your TV. How do you want to do that kind of screen sharing? So the remote part of Git is what enables collaboration, effective collaboration. So you can do pulling, that means you are pulling from remote. So we'll be talking about remote and local. The remote repository is the one that is online, the one that is in the internet or on the intranet. You can have it on your internet or on your intranet. Microsoft in the early 2000s, Microsoft developed what they call Team Foundation Server. On Visual Studio Code, you can connect to a local or a remote Team Foundation server, and then you work collaboratively on code. But that only works directly from Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code. Then there wasn't Visual Studio Code, directly from Visual Studio. But GitHub, Bitbucket, Stash from Jira, Stash from Atlassian, all of those things allow you to collaborate globally, regardless of wherever the other developer is. So when you're working with Git, first of all, you need to initialize Git inside a folder for you to start working with Git. Initialize Git in a folder, it makes a repository. When you say Git init, that folder you are in is a repository. So you can see GitHub is making a lot of money off developer. What they have is the same thing as what you have on your local system. It's just that they built on top of it. They build the web UI on top of it. You will not be using command to create pull requests. You will not be using command to merge your pull request. You will not be using command to resolve conflict. You'll be using the graphical user interface to do all of those things. Those are the things they are charging for. And things like user permissions, visibility of repo and all of those things. So Git now creates a hidden folder to keep track of changes in that folder. So let us start. I'm going to come to, hold up. I believe you can all still see my folder, right? Okay, so let me create a folder here called Git. Can you see my screen? Let's now let me do this room. Hello, can you hear me?
No,
Okay.
no, we
we
mute
gathered
ourselves.
it, we
Yes,
gathered
we are
it.
here. We are here.
Okay.
Just muted ourselves.
All right. So let me start by doing this. I'm gonna place this in just a box to each other. So on the left here is my command, and then on the right here is the Windows. Now I want to create a Git repository on my local system. Remember, for you to work collaboratively with other developers, when you have a local Git repository, you have to what? Have it on a remote repository, synchronize it together so that other developers too can work and collaborate on the same code. So here it's telling me that this folder is empty. So first of all, I'm going to navigate to that folder. I'm inside the folder like this. I'll clear my screen and I'll say git rev pass. It's telling me that this is not a Git repository next. If I say git init, init is a short form for initialization. Initialization. This is it. It's the same thing. Init initialization. When I say git init, when I press enter, notice what is going to appear on the right here. I press enter. It's telling me that it is initializing an empty Git repository. This is an empty Git repository. You see, .git. For you to be able to view this .git on Windows operating system, you come to options, you come to view. When you hide it, it will go. You can see it's telling me that it is empty. So at times, if a folder will be empty, but it is a Git repository. So how do you know? Just type git rev pass. It's going to tell you that it's not going to return anything. Once it doesn't return anything, it means it's a Git repository. But if it returns something, it means it is not a Git repository. So how do you view the Git file that is inside? You come to view, you come to folder options, you come to the view tab, you click on show hidden files, you apply, and you click OK. Now let's explore this. Inside of this .git folder, you see hooks, you see info, you see object, you see rev. Here is your Git config. That is the configuration of Git that is on your local system. Repository, formation, version, file mode, and all of these things are inside of the config file. The head, this head, if you open it for now, let me open it. You see that ref head master currently is pointing, this head is pointing to my local Git repository. So let me say git branch. It's going to show me that there's nothing, there's no branch for now because I haven't created any branch. I haven't done anything yet. It's just there. So for every file I drop inside of this folder, as long as the file is on the same folder structure level with this .git, Git is going to keep track of everything inside this folder. Are we together?
Yes, boss.
Git is going to keep track of everything inside this folder. So before I move forward, let's come here. Let's come here and come to this place. Remember, I initialized an empty Git repository on my local machine. If I had given it any name, that name is what will show on this remote repository if I'm connecting to this remote repository. Remember, my local Git doesn't have any tracking remote repository. It doesn't track any remote repository yet. It's not tracking anything. It's just on my local. Only me knows that that local repository is there. It's not tracking anything on the remote side yet. So for you to be able to make it track something on the remote side, you have to create a remote repository and synchronize your local repository with the remote repository. You will create a remote repository and synchronize your local repository with the remote repository. So for you to know which remote repository your local repository is pointing to, if you say git remote v is returning empty, because I'm not pointing to any remote repository yet. So let's point it to a single remote repository. And then from there, we'll add additional files and then start manipulating things. So like I mentioned earlier, GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, Stash are all different platforms of Git. So why Git? Is it only Git that is available to do to manage our code collaboration? No, but it's one of the most popular. Git is not the only one, but it's one of the most popular. Over 70% of developers uses Git. Developers can use it to work together from anywhere in the world. Like I said, you have to have a remote repository for you to be able to collaborate with people or with developers that are not within the same space as you. Developer can see the full history of the project. Just like when I click on this, it's telling me here that Bade Yanka actually made a push to this repository 37 minutes ago. And this is the commit ID. This is the commit ID. If I click on this, it's going to take me to the code commit. Now, what is this thing telling me? This thing is telling me that the selected file, which is completepromise.js file, has changed from this to this. Anyone you see in red background is what has been deleted. What you see in green background is what has been added. I don't know if I'm making sense. So you can see this one is in green background. This has been added. This is in red. This has been removed. If I open another one, it's telling me that this is not in this. This is the current one. This is what was there before. You can view history of all of those things. We are going to take it in piecemeal and then see how wonderful Git can be. So GitHub is the largest host of source code in the world so far right now. And then it has been acquired by Microsoft, I think in early 2018. So let's start with Git and then GitHub. Let's move on to the next thing. Let me bring up my, hold on, please. I think my daughter has not touched my internet. Hold on. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, so we already have Git installed, and then let us do Git configuration. Now, Git configuration is, let me open this back, and let me open this back. So Git configuration is very important because you are telling Git that this is the username and password, or if you want to disable or enable SSL push, or if you want to tell Git to suppress one or two things, or if you want to tell Git that the name of a default branch, if you don't specify a branch name, the name of the default branch should always be so thing. Those are things that you do in the global Git configuration. Now, it is important here, this is important for the version control system, as each Git command uses this information, because whatever you have in your global configuration of your Git is what each command you are typing is going to use. So if you use Git global, you'll be able to set any kind of global configuration that you want within your Git. So let's do, if you say Git global, you can use it to set, you have to say Git config because it's a configuration. So you do this global, you can say username, specify what you want to use as to be user.name, use it to specify a username. And then if you want to do email, it will be then the same thing, user.email. Use it to specify the email. But let's start by creating a global repository. So first of all, I'll come here you have to do, if you want to practice this, you have to do it on your own Git. I believe all of us, we all have Git, we all have GitHub accounts. So you come to repository. Let me create a new repository. I'm going to call this repository series 1, series 1 Git class, series 1 Git class. You can put a description for your repository. You can specify if your repository will be public. Public means anyone on the internet can view the repository. Private means only people that you invite. If you want to add a README file enables you to throw in information about your Git repository or what the project does, basically. Add a Git ignore. Git ignore is a file that tells Git that I don't want to track all this. I don't want to track. Git ignore is a file that tells Git that anything I add to this Git ignore file, I don't want to track it. Let me explain what tracking is. If I drop anything here, Git will automatically track it. If I say new file, I call this tracking.txt. This file, Git will track it. If let me see if this works. See, Git is telling me that on track file, this file is not being tracked yet. I don't know if you are seeing it. It's telling me that this file is not being tracked.
Yes.
If I don't want to track this file, there is a file I need to add called .ignore file. That ignore file is going to tell Git that I want to ignore so thing. You understand? So, but let me remove it and let me put it. So I'm just explaining this from here. So the Git ignore file is a file that Git checks every time and look for either folders or file extension inside the Git ignore, and it will not track it. So most times when you're collaborating on a big project, mostly on .NET project, you will see that developer will not push their CS file and will not push their CS project file or CS solution file or VB project file or VB solution file, because those files are machine dependent. So you add it to the Git ignore that I don't want to push this this file to the remote repository. So I will go ahead and say create repository. Now the repository has been created. There's nothing in the repository yet. So this here is the repository address. If I copy this guy and I come to a new tab, let me bring it here, and I enter the repository address and I press enter, you see it's showing me that there's nothing in this repository. It is empty. I don't know if I'm making sense. It is what? It is empty.
Yes.
So Git is now telling me here, if you read this, Git says, quick setup. If you are done with this kind of thing, if you've done this kind of thing before, that is, if you know what you're doing, just copy this address and then you point your local repository to it. But if you don't know what you're doing or you're just starting, so you create a new repository on your command line, or if you already have a repository, you push this there. So what's the difference between the two? Let me come back here. Let me also bring this to the right. Let me bring this to the right. Now, we all know that I have already initialized a Git repository inside of my folder. That means I have an existing repository in that folder. All I just have to do is to let the folder track a remote repository. I don't know if I'm making sense. Hello?
Hi.
Okay. So for me to now point my local repository, for me to point it to this remote repository, I won't use this first option because I've already initialized Git. This is what we did first initially. We didn't add this at all, but let's now do this. I will copy this guy. I'll paste it here and I press enter. When I paste it there and I press enter, if I do git remote v, it's going to give me origin. They call it remote origin. That is, this is where I'm fetching from. and this is where I'm pushing to. If you look at it, it is the same URL as what is here. It's the same URL as what is here. It means I'm pointing my local repository, I'm pointing it to this remote repository. So let me create a branch, because if I say git branch, or let me just say git branch, you see it's returning empty. It means I don't have any remote branch and I don't have any local branch yet. So I want to create a branch and then push that branch to the remote. So you say git branch. For everything you want to do, git has a name for it. I'll say I'll call my own master. I've pressed enter. If I should do git branch again, oh, sorry, let me push, sorry, git push. Let me add first, git add, git commits. Because I've added, yeah, I've added text file. Okay, so let me scroll up, let me clear screen because something is blocking it. Okay, so git push. So it's telling me that the current branch master has no upstream branch. To push the current branch and set the remote as upstream, use this. So what it's trying to tell me is that this current branch has no upstream branch. Remember, I created a branch earlier. Sorry. My brain is faster than my hand. You remember I created a branch called master on my local system. On the remote part, there's no branch yet. I don't have any branch yet. So the error is self-descriptive, just like when we're doing MySQL. It will always give you error. Computer will give you an error. You should be able to interpret and understand the error. The current branch, master, this is master, has no upstream branch. What is that upstream branch? Remote branch. That means I have master on my local, but there's no master on the remote. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes.
So because there's no master on the remote, there are two ways of doing it. It's either you do git push, set upstream, git push, then set upstream origin to master, or you come here and create a master branch and then you push it to the master branch. At times, the combination of at times only this doesn't work. At times, I think that's based on the version of Git. At times only this doesn't work. If it happens to you like that, don't panic. What you just have to do, come to the remote repository, create a master branch, and then you push your code. So if I say git status again, it's telling me that your branch is up to date with origin. Origin is also remote, master, nothing to commit, working tree is clean. If I refresh this guy, refresh, you see that, voila, it has changed. Now Git keeps history of everything that is going on within the repository. It's telling me that Ahmed Farouk 888 added a text file. This added a text file is my Git commit message, or was my Git commit message. This is the commit ID, and it's telling me that I did this push 2 minutes ago, one commit. And the file I committed is this txt tracking.txt.txt file. If I open the file, you see that the file is empty. There's nothing inside of the file. So let me go back one step. Where is this? Okay. So if I say git, this thing is blocking. Okay. If I say git branch, it's telling me that I have what? I have the master branch. Look at it on the remote too, master. Now, if I want to check, if I want to check the remote branch that a local branch is tracking, you do git branch. All these things, if I were you, I'll be writing it down, branch and VV. It's telling me that this local branch is tracking the origin master branch. If I want to check the remote repository that this local repository is connected to, I'll do git remote v. It's telling me that this local git repository is connecting or tracking everything that is in this remote repository. So compare, you say we, and I know here French.
We know even here. The network skipped.
Okay, the network skipped. So. All right, let me have your question if you have any question before we move on.
Sir, we can't see what you are typing again.
You-
Okay, now you can see now.
Okay, you can see it now. Let me have your question if you have any question. Okay, all right. So let's move on to the next thing, which is Git staging environment and all of those things. Now, let me explain how that works. If, let me open this and then open this. I'll maximize this and I'll put it to the left. So one of the core functions of Git is the concept of staging environment and the commits and commits. As you are working, you may be adding, you may be deleting, you may be editing and removing files. But whenever you hit a milestone or finish a part of your work, you should add the file to the staging environment. The staging environment, if you're working from your own computer, is your local system, but Git has a staging environment. Remember, initially, when I created this tracking.txt file, I say git status. Git told me that I'm not tracking this file yet. For me to start tracking this file, I will add this file to the staging environment. So stage file are files that are ready to be committed to the remote repository you are working on. You will learn more about commit and all of those things later. I just quickly did this one for you to see how we can synchronize the remote repository with the local repository. So first of all, inside this Git directory, let me add a file. I think in Windows you can add. I think it's type no to try.txt. I don't know. So it created, let me say type git file.txt. So I just created a file. This type that I use here is a Windows command, it's not git command. So now I've created two files. Now I have three files actually. I have git file.txt. I have this one null dot something. I think I didn't add the extension, and I have tracking.txt too. If I say git status, Git is telling me that these two files, I'm not tracking them yet. I don't know if I'm making sense. Git is telling me that these two files, I am not tracking these two files yet. So let me rename this to a proper name. Yes, sir.
I'll take 15 minutes break and come back.
I'm enjoying that class.
Huh?
I am enjoying that class.
Let's take 15 minutes.
All right, let's take 15
Honestly,
minutes.
if not that you said it earlier that you'll be faster.
All
That's
right.
why we are not commenting.
Okay. All right.
You said it earlier that you'll be faster at this time.
Okay. So
I'm
let
actually enjoying it.
me pause recording. So all right. So here Git is telling us that we have two files that we are not tracking, which is git file.txt and then we.txt. If you look at it here, we have this and we have this. Remember, the tracking.txt.txt file is already in the remote repository. So here, if I say git add, if I say git add, I want to add the we.txt file. The we.txt, I want to add the we.txt file. So I'll say add we.txt and I'll say enter. So if I say git status, it's telling me that initially when I said git status here, it's telling me I have 2 on track file. But now I'm tracking 1 file, which is the which is the we.txt file. After running git status again, git is telling me that I have added new file and I'm not tracking this file. This file that is called we.txt is currently staged. That means I have staged it for commit. You understand? So when you create a new file within your project, maybe you're developing a software, an API, a web service, or whatever, those files are not tracked yet by Git. For you to know which file is tracked and which file is not tracked, just run git status. It's going to tell you all the files you are not tracking. In case you want to track all the files, you just say git add a dot. Git is going to track all the files without specifying their name. Just say git add dot. It's going to track all the files. So let me say git commit. M means message, commit message. So I will say added we.txt. I press enter. Git is telling me that I have 1 file that I've added to commit. If I run git status, you see that Git is saying that I only have 1 on track file, but I have 1 outgoing commit. So if I say git push, it's going to push to the master branch. So say git push origin master. It means I'm saying git, let me push all the files that I have staged and I have committed to my local repository, push it to the origin, the remote origin branch called master. So if the remote origin branch name is not master, if it is main, I will say main, even though the local branch name is master. So here I'm going to say master and I'll push. So Git has done its thing. If I run git status again, you see that Git will only tell me that I only have 1 on track file, as compared to when it tells me here that I have 1 on track file and I have 1 commit to push to the remote branch. So let's go to the remote branch. This is the remote branch. If I should refresh, we'll see the we.txt file here. So what it's trying to tell us is that Git is keeping track of Git file, is keeping track of tracking.txt and we.txt. But remember, this other one is not there yet. If you look at the remote repository, you'll see that the Git file is not here. So let us try one other thing. If I say new, sorry, let me delete this. Let's just use file. If I say new file, I'm going to call this file index.js. I'll just put anything inside. I'll save it. And then I'll create another file, home.js. When I clear my screen, what's the git command to check which file is being tracked and which one is currently not tracked? What's the command? What's the git command to check? Are we together?
Is it git status?
Yeah, it is git status. Thank you. Git status. Git is telling me here that I have 3 untracked files. The name of the files are here. That's why you see them in red. So let's track all the files, all of them. I'll say git add and a dot. If I say git status, it will tell me that, you see, it has changed from red, which is being untracked. It has changed to this. It's telling me that I have staged these 3 files. Now let me commit. Staged all files. That's my commit message. I will say git push origin like origin betas. So git push origin master. Git is going to push everything to the master branch for me. So if I come here and I refresh this file, You'll see a message that states that stage all files. That's my last commit message, and all of the files are here. Now, what happens if you clone this repository and you modify the code? You know, when you modify the code, it means you have added to the code or you have removed from the code. But on my own local machine, I still have my own copy of the code. So what happens is that you will push your code and I will pull your code. When I pull your code, there will be discrepancies between the two files. That means you have some code modification which I currently do not have. So that is when Git will tell you that you have a merge conflict, or you have conflict within the code and you need to resolve the conflict within that code. So let me have your question before I move on to the next thing.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. All the command you are trying to do, I'm doing it also here, and I'm following it. But how do you go to the remote side, sir?
Okay, so it means you want to clone this repository, right? This repository. So this is the repository address. Any Git repository that you want to clone, either your own or any public one, just come to Git, come to code, copy it. So I'm gonna paste it in this chat area, so you can clone it. Clone it to your local first by using Git clone. Then you can modify it and push.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir,
Yeah.
can we have a little summary regarding these Git operations?
Okay, you mean I should give you a little summary of everything?
Yes, sir. I had a network issue, so I was.
Okay, so where do you want me to start from? Is it the command or the
Yeah, the
Git?
initialization. We created the folder, you initialize it on the Git, this thing.
Okay,
So from there, answer.
okay, so like I said earlier, Git is code collaboration subversion control, right? When you install Git, you can create a local Git repository and create a corresponding remote repository, and then point your local repository to track the remote repository. So the command, let me open this guy back. Let me expand this. Let me clear this. The command that you use to initialize Git in a folder is git init. When you run git init, it's going to create a hidden folder with the name .git on your local machine. When the folder is created on your local machine, you'll see it here called .git. By default, you might not be able to see it. So by default, this is the way it looks like.
Yes, sir.
So you only see your files. For you to see that Git repository, for you to see that Git file, Git folder, you come to folder option, you come to view and you say show hidden folders and files. That is when you'll be able to see it here. Can you see it? That's where you'll be able to see it here.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you have all the list of files within your Git repository, after you have done Git init, if you want to track a remote repository, you do git remote add origin. You paste the name of the remote branch there and you press enter. But because we already have it on our own local repository, we can check it by saying git remote -v. It's telling us that the remote branch we are tracking, this is it. If I want to see the branches that I'm currently on, it's telling me it's telling me that I have master branch. If I put the V flag, it's telling me that the last master, the master branch had this last push. You understand? This is the last commit message that I did. If I want to see which remote branch my local branch is tracking, you just do git branch -vv. Here, it's telling me that my local master branch is tracking the remote master branch. You see, my local master branch is tracking the remote master branch. Okay.
Exactly.
So for you to add a modifier file to, let's modify this file. I'll open this file and I'll just type anything inside and I'll save it. So for you to see the status of things, you type git status. Only that we will be there. You see, git is telling me that I modified this file called we.txt. So this modification is only on my local. I want to push it to the remote repository so that other developers that are collaborating on the application development or on that software development can also have the same copy as me. So what do I have to do? I will say git add dot. It will add all the files that I have modified, and I'll say git commit. So commit means I'm committing this. I will like, after you have added all the file, you add it to the staging area. So when you add it to the staging area, you will now commit it. It means when I do git push after this git commit, everything I've added to that staging area that I've added to that commit, rather, I'm pushing it to the remote repository. Git message, let me say try commit. I press enter, then I'll say git push. I'm pushing it to the remote repository, origin master. I'll press enter, and then you wait for git to perform its magic, and then you come back here and you refresh. You see the commit message here will change from stage all to try commit. So how do we know the codes that I actually committed? Is it all the files that I modified? No, I only modified we.txt. So I'll click on this commit ID, and it's telling me that initially the file was empty, but I added this text to it. Any other question?
So in summary, we create a folder, we initialize the folder, we create a file in the folder, we add it to staging area, we commit it, then we push it.
Yes, that is the flow. That's basically is the flow.
Thank you, sir. All
right, so let's talk about Git help. If you're having trouble remembering commands, just like me, I always have, because the number of the amount of code you need to remember as a software developer is enormous. It's plenty. So don't stress yourself. Almost all the languages that you're learning has one or two developer documentation page, or the CLI has a help of some sort. So what you do in situation of Git is when you let me maximize this a little bit. If you type git help and you say all, or let me remove the all. If I just say help, see, I'm saying that git I need help about your command. See the git add command. See the git rename or move command, git restore, git remove file. You see, all these are commands. Git branch, list, create, or delete a branch. This is what that command does. This git branch is used to list, is used to create, or is used to delete a branch. So if I want to use this git branch now, I'll say git branch v. It means list. It will give me all the branches that I have. So git merge, if you want to merge, git switch, if you want to switch branches. This is not supported again. It is checkout. Oh, sorry. I think this was recently added rather. So you can also as well use git checkout to check out to a different branch. We are going to see that. We'll create a new branch. We'll check out to the new branch. A branch can have different copy of your code as compared to other branch. I mean, the master branch now. The master branch can have a file that another branch, let's call it the branch test branch or dev branch. That dev branch can contain codes that are not in the master branch. So git pull is for me to pull from the remote repository. Let's say you clone that code, you modify the file, and then me, I don't have your modification. You push to the remote repository. I will pull from that remote repository, and then automatically what you have on your laptop will also be on my laptop. Git push is used to push to the remote repository.
Oh.
All right. In the absence of no question, we've talked about branch. So you can make a copy of all the relevant files to avoid impacting the live version. That is, you are pulling or you are cloning. You understand? So
Yes, sir.
if you have a branch on your local that you don't have on your remote, it's fine. You just have to point the local to the remote by setting tracking. So you can set tracking if you are using a GUI tool like this. If you are using a GUI tool like this, you can set tracking if you enter a particular repository. If you, okay, this one is not valid repo. It doesn't have a valid branch. Oh. Let's see. Okay, so this is a branch, this is local, this is remote. If I want to change the tracking, you come here and say, where is change tracking? Where is change tracking? This software, the version I have is old. Okay, the version I have is old, but we can do it from the command by setting the remote branch that you want to track. You understand? You can use git remote. You say set remote origin to be equal to master. So if I want to track the main branch, I'm on my local master branch, but I want to track the main branch with my master branch. Once you execute this, it's going to track the remote main branch. So your local master branch will track the remote main branch. So let's move on to creating other branches, checking out to those branches, and then doing other stuff. Do we have any question?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So let's create another branch. Remember, on our local branch, on our local repository, we only have one branch. On our remote repository, look at it here, we only have one branch. So let's create another branch. How do you create a branch in Git? You can say Git branch and then the branch name. So this branch name, let's call it tests env branch. I've automatically created a branch like that. If I say git branch, it will give me a list of all the branches. You can see test env branch is created, but I'm currently still on the master branch. But what if I want to create a branch and automatically check out to that branch? When you say check out, you are checking out from the current branch to another branch. So I will say git branch -b, and then let's call it UATF. And I'll press enter. Oh, hold on. Git branch BUATM. What's the complaint about? An on switch B. Maybe it's not supported in the latest version. Git branch. I'm creating a new branch. Okay, sorry. Git checkout. Git checkout B prod env. So what this one does is that it will create this branch called product env and it will check out to it. So if I hit enter, it has gone. If I say git branch, you see it has checked out to the prod env branch and not the master branch or the test env branch. So the difference between the two is that the first command git branch, this one, it will only create the branch, while the second command, which is git checkout, git checkout -b, then the branch name, it will create the branch and it will check out to that branch. That means it will switch to that branch. You can as well use git switch master. It will help you to switch to that branch. If I say git branch, you see that switch to master. If I want to switch to product env branch, you say git switch prod env. It will switch to the product env prod env branch. So if I say git branch, it will switch to the product env branch. Now I'm currently in the product env branch. Remember, and the product env branch has the same file as the master branch, because when you say git checkout, when you say git checkout, B, and you give it a branch name. Let's say branch name. What Git does is that you are currently on a branch. Git will now create a clone copy of all the files in that branch and put it in the new branch. So that means the branch you were before you run this command will have the same files, folder structure as the new branch. You understand? So currently, if I say git branch, I'm currently in product env branch, right? So let me add new file. Let me add new file. If you look at our folder, don't do the mistake to think that Git is going to create another folder with the branch name. No, it won't. It will just use its files here to track all of those refs, objects, and logs, and all of those things. But this is how we are going to see the difference. So here, let me add a new file. I'll say Git. I'll add a new file. Probably, let me call the name of the file new branch.txt. So the syntax of the command is incorrect. Okay, so let's say, how did I even do it that time? Let me say okay. So if I say git status, remember I created this file, try. Can you see it? Try.
Yes.
And I created this new branch. See, new branch.txt. It has been created. The thing just tells me say error. Now lie. So there's new branch. See it here, new branch. There's new branch.txt, new branch.txt, and then new branch, and then new branch, and then try, and then try. Now, these changes I have just made is currently not tracked, right? We understand tracking, staging, committing, and pushing. It is not currently tracked. Now, let me check out back. It will complain, no, git checkout master. I have switched to the master branch. If I say git status, you can see that it's telling me that, am I in the master branch? Let me say git branch. Okay, I'm in the master branch, git status. Okay, so it's saying that your branch is up to date with the master branch origin, but there are 3 untracked files. But these 3 untracked files were not created with these three files were not created within the master branch when I was in the they were created when I was on
product environment.
Okay, I think prod env. So let me switch back. Git switch prod env. So git status. So let's stage it. Okay, how do I stage all of them? I don't write them already.
Git add.
Then what do I do next?
Git commit.
Git commit. What's the flag?
Dash.
Okay, then the commit message.
Try commit.
So new files from prod.
Okay.
From prod env. It's just a commit message.
Yes.
Then I say git push. So there's a complaint. So how do you know?
I don't understand something.
Tell me.
Yes, the other one you use try commit. Yeah. You use new files.
I use what?
When we are under master the other time, when you want to, you use try commit the other time.
Try commit. Is that
after you write git commit? Yeah, but here you use new files from product.
You see this message can be anything. It can be anything. You can type your name here. You can type your source, anything. But it must be very descriptive. So what developers do most times is that they describe what they have changed. So let's say, for instance, I change a function name from calculate balance to calculate balances. your commit message should be like change function name from calculate balance to calculate balances on this file. So your commit message is a description of what you did. You understand?
Okay.
So it mustn't
I
be
get
the same. Now I push to the origin, but it's telling me to push the current branch. The current branch, this has no upstream branch. What it means is that I am currently on my local branch called prod-env. If I come to the remote repository, you can see that I don't have any remote branch called prod-env.
Okay.
So you can either create a remote branch called prod-env, or you copy this guy and you paste it. What this guy does is that it say push set upstream in the origin, in the remote origin, set prod-env. So what this thing do is that you are telling Git that push my commit, and then on the upstream remote repository, create a branch called prod-env, and then I'll press enter. So create a pull request and everything. So it has pushed. If I remember, there's no prod-env here. Can you see in this branch, there's no prod-env, but it's telling me here that prod-env had prod-env had recent pushes 4 seconds ago. Now let me refresh. I've refreshed. How many branches do we have now?
2.
Well, two.
We have 2 branches. Now in the master branch, how many files do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Let me come to the prod-env branch. How many files do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And all of them are separately. No
5 plus 3.
Yes. No wahala. All of them are separately. They are not conflicting with each other yet. So every branch is like a separate room on your Git repository. So your repository is like a house. The branches are like rooms inside the house. So your sitting room can have your TV, and then your bedroom, your sitting room can have 2 TV sets, and then your bedroom will have 1 TV set. So the TV set are the files. The rooms are the branch. So your branch can contain whatever you want to put inside. Do you understand? Yes. So where you began to have merge conflict is when you now want to move what is inside one branch to the other branch. That is where merge conflict normally exists. When you are pushing what is inside one branch to another branch, either the same branch of the same name or different branch of different names. So once the files are different from each other, you are going to have a conflict in your merge. So on the remote branch, we have 2 branches. While on my local branch, if I say git branch, on my local branch, I have how many branches?
3.
3 branches, yes. Any question?
Sir.
Any question?
Yes, sir. There's a question, sir.
Okay, let me have it.
We recently created another branch. Was it test environment? And it's not showing on the listing.
On the remote branch, God bless you.
Exactly.
The reason why it's not showing on the remote branch is that I haven't pushed anything from this test branch to the remote. I only push from master and from prod-env. So at times, your local repository might contain a lot of branches that are not in the remote branch. So 2 ways of making sure that what you have on your local branch is the same thing as what you have on your remote branch is if you push from your local branch to your remote branch, or you come to your remote branch, you come to your remote repository, you come to branch, you say view all branch, you say new branch. I can call it, I think I have prod already, so let me say test-env. I'm creating the test-env branch from master branch. You see, you have to create a branch of another branch. So I'm creating it from master branch. So I'll say create. So now, if I come to code, I click here, you see I have how many branches now? 3.
3.
3. God bless you. So if I come back here and I do git switch, I switch to the test. If I say git branch to confirm I'm on the test M branch, right? On this test M branch, I want to say type. I'll call it test m.txt file. I say enter. If I say dir, I will see the test m.txt file. You can see it here. If I say type, I know. So let me say git status. It's telling me that I have this that is on track. So I will track it by what? By staging it. I'll say git add dot. It will add everything. I'll say git commit. I'll put a commit message. I'll say this could be anything. I'll press enter and I'll say git push. You see that it's still complaining. So let me say git push origin tests. Is it test m? Yeah, tests. You see that it has pushed, because I specify that I'm pushing to the test M branch on the origin, that is on the remote. But if I want to push again, I will either do this or I do this. What this one does is that it automatically sets your local branch to track that remote branch. So let's refresh. Let me come here and click on the test M. So let me select this. So if you look at the test env, I have how many files? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I click on the master, I have how many files? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I click on the prod, I have more than 5. Here you can see that's how it works.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. Yeah, I'm with you. Any other question?
I think you said something like this before, but I don't really get it. Is there a way that we can create a branch that will not include what with all the files that we have before?
Oh yes, why not?
Okay, because I noticed that all the one we are creating is having all the files in the master.
Yes, so if you want to do that, let's come here. Let's say git checkout by creating a new branch. I'll call it not included. That's a new branch. I switch to that branch. It has switched to that branch. If I say git branch, you can see I have not included branch. It has switched to it. Inside that not included branch, because I'm currently working on that branch, I'll come here. I'll come back one step. Hold up. I'll come back one step. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me do this checkout. Let me check out to let me check out to prod M. I'm coming. Git checkout prod M. Okay, so let me check out to not included, but let me say git branch. Okay, so git checkout so not included. So let me say git status. Git status. Okay. So let me delete these 3 files. And then come here and say git status. It will tell me I've deleted something. See, it's telling me that I've deleted all these 3 files. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me create a remote branch first. View all branch. Okay, no, don't worry. Let me just push without doing that. So git, what do? I stage all my changes, right? I commit my changes. I'll say not included file, not included files. Then I do what git push. Will it give me an error or not? If I press enter. Will it give me an error or not?
No.
I don't think so. It will give me an error.
Error.
The reason it's giving me an error is that I don't have not included branch on the remote yet.
Okay.
So let me now push. You can always copy this guy and paste it and push. It will create the remote branch for me. So I have pushed, right? So in the not included branch, how many files do I have? One. So let me open it. Let me go to not included branch. You see? That's not. What's it telling me?
Farouk,
Yeah.
can you try to round up?
Okay. So in the not included branch, I only have one file. Let me come back one step. See, can you see that this one is only one file? Can you see it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the master has many. You see, the master has many. And then the test env has more than the master. You can see it. You see it. And then
Yes.
the not included has only one. You see. So
So
where you
Farouk, wait.
yeah.
The idea of having multiple branches is to be able to have different versions of the code, so that if you are progressing in the code, you will not lose value. So for example, the way Farouk said production environment, test environment, you might have something working in production environment, and then developers are developing in dev environment. So sometimes you don't want the code that are bad to go to production environment. That's why you have the test environment. So the moment you are done with the test environment, you will bring it to production environment. So with that, you maintain different version, and then you'll be able to progress and then bring code together and achieve a kind of control over the code that you have. Farrell, continue.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
think, do we have a break now, Mr. Abbas?
So I want us to just discuss there should be a practical class at this point.
Yeah.
But I think most people here are tired, and some has even left us.
Okay.
So I want us to end the class, and there are some assignments that I've come up with.
Okay.
There's some assignment that I've come up with. Do you want to round up before I share my screen?
Okay, so guys, if you have any question, you can drop it in the communication group that is on WhatsApp. If you have any question, then I'll send you link references to where you can get your hands dirty on Git. But that's the basic and the fundamentals of what it entails to use Git. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much,
Thank you.
bro.
Thank you, sir.
Can I
Thank you.
stop recording,
More
Mr.
grace.
Abbas? Or should I pause? Thank you, guys.
Thank you very
No,
much.
don't stop the recording now. Oga
Okay.
say want stop, abi? Mr. Abbas also.
Okay, I should stop the recording, right?
Farouk,
don't
Don't
stop.
stop it.
Okay, you want him to? Okay, don't worry. So I'm sharing my screen now. So there will be an assignment that I want us to attempt, and then I have 20 assignments for JavaScript. So this will entail mostly the front end. I don't want to worry much about MySQL, because what we're still going to do will cover those things. So this is the assignment. You're going to be writing some code, and when you are done with your code, you put it on the repository. And then the repository link is what you share with us. And that's how we'll know whether you've done what you're supposed to do. For the guys in HTML class, those are the front end. It means that the front end guys are going to do these two assignments, but the back end guy is just going to do this. So I can come up with my assignment for the SQL. So So at this point, you've learned quite a number of things that make your foundation to be very strong. And then going forward, you'll be able to handle quite a number of tasks in the weeks to come. So I would like you to use this opportunity to take a feedback. If you think there's something that we're not doing right, if you think there's something that we need to adjust on, or there's an instructor that has not been doing well, I'd like to take that. If you think you can't discuss it here, you can send us a mail on the official mail. So we'd like to take a feedback from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you
Farouk,
still send this assignment to the group, right?
I'll send it to the group. Farouk, can you stop recording?
Oh, all right.
Someone is raising up his hand.
Mr. Dayo, we are with you.